Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Kwami Abdul-Bey. I'm the Election Coordinator at the Arkansas Public Policy Panel. And what we do at the Arkansas Public Policy Panel is we do regular noon webinars to keep Arkansans abreast of current policy-related information so that they can make the right choices and get the right resources in their communities. And today, what we're going to talk about is we just want to do a overall update of the state of direct democracy here in Arkansas. And first, I would like to apologize to everybody if I sound like a frog. It's because I have a sore throat, but I have some tea here, and I'm going to be sipping on that during the conversation. And hopefully our panelists will do a lot of talking, or I have to do a lot less talking. But I want to go ahead and introduce our panelists. My introduction, what I'd like for each one of you to do is definitely introduce yourselves personally, and then introduce your organization and tell us why direct democracy is important for your particular organization. And if you have some personal information you want to add to that, definitely feel free to do that. So I want to start with Rebecca Zimmermann. Rebecca Zimmermann, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Kwame. Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Zimmermann. I'm the Community Engagement Director at Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families. And we advocate for laws and do research at the state and federal level about the needs for children and families in our communities and the best policy solutions to address those. We care about direct democracy because we believe that families should have a say in critical issues that impact their lives.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And April Reisma, how are you doing today? Please introduce yourself.
Well, I'm doing great. It's Friday, friend. My name is April Reisma. I am a special education teacher at Robinson Middle School right here in Little Rock. And I have the pleasure of serving as president of the Arkansas Education Association. And I have 4 kids. I have 12 grandkids. I have a large family. And the reason why I care and what fits in with AEA, why I care about direct democracy is we need to listen to the people. They need to have a right to be able to make and have a say in their laws. And we can't have legislators running over us and making decisions for us. You know, they're supposed to be representing our thoughts, our feelings, and what we want. And when they don't, we need to have the right to be able to say something about it and do something about it. And here at the Arkansas Education Association, we often talk about how educators are never considered when decisions are made about education, not only here in the state of Arkansas, but all across this nation and quite frankly, across the world. And so that's really important to us to have a say and to make sure that we are guaranteeing our rights for our members, for our citizens, for our children, and for our future.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And last but definitely not least, the one we should all fear because it says we're suing everybody.
Everybody.
Barry Jefferson, please introduce yourself.
Hey, Kwame, how you doing? Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm so excited to be here again. My name is Barry Jefferson. I have the pleasure of serving as the president of the Arkansas State Conference of the NAACP. And this is our fight here. This is our fight here, and this is something we truly believe in. For over 100 years, we have been fighting this fight for direct democracy, for political, for strategy, for education, social, everything. We've been fighting this fight so everybody can be on the equal playing field. Focus on Black Americans and Black and Brown Americans and those who are less fortunate that don't have a voice. We fight for those voiceless people, and I think that's very important. Direct democracy is so important for us for many of reasons because sometimes our voice is not being heard. And how we got engaged over 100 years is by direct democracy, by standing up, by fighting, by protesting, by speaking up and speaking out. That's why we're in this fight. This is personal to me because I have a son who's serving in the military, been there for 3 years. His voice needs to be heard. I have a daughter and I have a son who's 10 years old, who's 12 years old, who attend public school. Their voice need to be heard. I fight this fight, and the members of the NAACP fight this fight for one reason and one reason only, and that's for the voiceless. And to let them know that we are here to fight, we're here to stand behind you, we're here to hold you accountable. And if we don't, if we had to go to the court, we will go to the court. We will sue. We will show you in the court that we are truly fighting for Americans, fighting for those voiceless people. But thank you again for me being here, and I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be in a partner with this group. A lot of us got long histories of fighting this fight together, and I'm really excited about it. Thank you, Kwame.
You know, Barry, I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to say that before Kwame went any farther. The folks you see on the screen are just a small component of the coalition that have been working together for years, fighting for the rights of Arkansans. And so we have a long history of working together and representing those voices, our voices and everyone else's voices, and trying to make sure people's rights are secured.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. And before I go into that specifically, April, I wanted to, for those of you that don't know me, I am a public historian and I just really love history. And about a year ago, April invited me to come into the historical archives of the AEA. And that's when I learned the historical relationship between the Arkansas Education Association and the NAACP Arkansas State Conference, which goes way back. Why don't both of you guys, tell everybody about that? Because it's important that we talk about these coalitions that have been in existence for decades and decades, and none of us are new to this fight.
For sure. Hey, you know what? Hey, Barry, let's tell everybody how we met. We were on an airplane ride to Washington, D.C., representing Arkansas. And we were right next to each other, newly named presidents. And we just started talking and realized who each other was. And that's when our friendship started. But obviously, yes, the relationship between AEA and the NAACP has gone back several years. And I'm gonna hand that right on over to Barry because I know he can do a better job than me talking about it.
Yeah, I think we all can do a good job in knowing the history of what we have and just us meeting on that plane together and because I know I was just elected and she was just elected. We was going to the White House together and we didn't know we was going to the White House, so we had this conversation and really getting to know each other. That was connection. I was like, man. And it was very special to really get to meet her and just really getting to know her and stuff like that. And that was very important. Our history started a long time ago, and I think it started in 1957 with the Central High School and everything. It started with our former President Daisy Bates, who is a long history there, and we stood on the ground together fighting line of just really getting to fight this big fight that we are doing together. Okay. Those are some of the things, that's just some of the history, but the history is continuing to go. As you know, the AEA is the union and the NAACP is a big labor organization. We fight for the people, the voices, and that union is one of those voices that we fought for and stuff like that. But in 1969, just talk about 1969, when we worked together in sharing a history of separate organization of Black and white educators. When they had to come together and build and start building that relationship. And that started with the NAACP and AEA relationship. And I think that was very important. Then we became unified. And I think that's the history. And I know one thing I want to do as president is continue that work in history and building. A lot of our members are teachers. A lot of our members are educators. a lot of our members are members of the AEA or their local branch, or their local organization and stuff like that. And I think that's very important that we understand that. And as one of my, when I give my speeches to my membership, and one thing I also embrace them is just get back in the union, just get back in the labor, just continue to fight those things, fight those fights and stuff like that, because it's a long history that we dealt with. So,
And really, we fight for the same thing, because we're family. That's what we are, even though we're under two different names, or all of our different, looking at my screen right now, we are family because we're working for the same things and working for just common Arkansans just like us. And I value that relationship for sure. And I appreciate you helping out with that membership stuff, because it is definitely something with growing the union and bringing it back to our roots and how important it is for everyday citizens.
Thank you for that history. Rebecca, bringing the Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families into this conversation about coalitions and directing that to direct democracy. Here in Arkansas, in order to really function in direct democracy, you have to set up what's known as a ballot question committee, a BQC. And could you tell us the history of all three of these organizations and other organizations coming together under one umbrella known as Protect Our Rights, BQC?
Yes, so this will be the third election that Protect Our Rights has advocated for direct democracy on. I'm really excited that we have the opportunity to do a for campaign this time instead of a no campaign like we did on issue 2 and issue 3. So that's pretty exciting.
That was some very hard work.
Yes. Well, this is even harder, a for campaign,
yes.
for sure.
Yes.
But we started advocating together 3 sessions ago three elections ago, because of a legislatively referred amendment that would have made it harder to collect signatures. The voters overwhelmingly voted against that. There are some other provisions in that measure as well that just would have made the ballot measure process more difficult, and I believe that was the election that the legislature had referred that in order for a ballot measure to pass, it had to was that the one, Kwame, that was 60%, or was that the last election? I can't remember.
No, that was the last.
They all blend together now.
Yeah, it seems like a constant effort to diminish our rights as far as democracy.
Yes, it's hard to remember all
of the Doesn't seem like it, Kwame. It really is.
Yeah. So, but those both those measures failed overwhelmingly by the voters, really proving that voters don't want these restrictions on ballot measure rights. And this year, Protect Our Rights is back and now pushing a for campaign for a constitutional amendment. And we so far have the Arkansas Public Policy Panel, Citizens First Congress, obviously AEA, the NAACP, for people, Arkansas Appleseed. Am I missing anyone? That's
you got everybody besides yourself, of course.
Yeah, and Arkansas Advocate. That's part of this coalition, and maybe we'll talk about it later. But if you would like to join our coalition and be part of this work, please reach out to Kwame. You can reach out to me too if you want, but reach out to Kwame first. And, because we do, I think Barry and April kind of hinted at the fact that we want a big tent. We want everyone who's impacted by this to get involved with this process. And if you want to get plugged in as an organization or as an individual, we'd love to connect with you. either as a volunteer or maybe a member of one of the committees. There's so many ways that you can get involved. And as we go along in the campaign, we just hope more and more groups and individuals join our work.
Honestly, Rebecca, I hope that everybody wants to join because, you know, once they realize, they being the legislators, realize that everybody wants to keep their rights, maybe they might back off a little bit. Just saying.
Yes.
So yeah, if you're interested, you're watching this right now and you say, hey, I want to be a part of that. You're right. They shouldn't be taking away our rights. Give us a call.
Yes, and one thing that is vitally important about the Protect Our Rights BQC and also the For Our Kids BQC, that's actually rather unique for BQCs when you go to the Ethics Commission's website and look at all the list of BQCs. One thing that's really unique about these two BQCs are the coalition building and how you have different organizations from different, when I think of genres, that's music. So from different areas of influence come together all under one tent. And this question is for anybody. And you just talked about it, April, sending a message to the legislature. But why is it important for different organizations from different sectors, that's a good word, sectors, to actually come together that organization is not directly affected by that fight?
Okay,
Nice.
that's okay. Oh, go ahead, Rebecca, and then I can go.
Okay, I was just
going to say.
gonna say I was really excited at the Capitol this year because it really showed what you're talking about, Kwame, how a broad swath of people from all different backgrounds, all different belief systems came to the Capitol to push back against harmful rounds of legislation that restrict our ballot rights. And that's really because this fundamental idea is the structures of our democracy must be protected. It doesn't matter if what letter is by your name. It doesn't matter what side of the spectrum that you're on in the political system. For this all to work and for us to have this great government and country and things that we do, it's critical that we protect these democratic structures and the direct democracy system that we have had in Arkansas's Constitution for over 100 years, like Barry talked about. It's vital to protect these. It's kind of wild to think that if someone doesn't get their way around certain policies, they're like, let's blow up the whole system. Let's just get rid of direct democracy altogether because I didn't get what I wanted, or people might vote away I don't want them to in the future. That's on you for not persuading people to vote the way that you wanted. So really, at the end of the day, I mean, it's just vital to protect not just direct democracy, but obviously all of the different structures of our democracy. And so, yeah, I mean, this really does impact everyone in our state. And I think voters know that because they keep voting against harmful restrictions.
Rebecca, did you just say that legislatures are having temper tantrums? I think I heard you just say that.
I absolutely did not say that. I did say that. I did say, yeah, we should we shouldn't throw away our entire system of governance because you don't get your way on a few bills. Not even that many bills, just a few bills. Let's just get rid of it.
And I think that is very scary if you look at it and see what's going on. You're saying that you want people to go out and vote. You're saying you want people to go out and use their voice. And you're saying you want people to go to the poll and have a right to speak what they feel that their community should look like or what their community should do. Then you go into a legislative session and vote what the voters voted against, because it's not going your way. And that is very painful. You pushing people away not to go vote because they go feel that their vote doesn't count.
Yeah.
Because they made a decision on one end and you go back and you change it because you do not like the decision that the people made. And here recently we've seen that a lot throughout our state and throughout our country. And those are some of the things that we really have to look at and we are fighting against. We stand up fighting against because I feel that the people have a right to vote for who they want to. The people have a right to vote for laws and things that need to be on the books that is going to benefit them. And I think that's something that we are doing. And I think that's why this direct democracy is so important to Arkansans so they can understand why their voice matter. And I think that's very important.
Currently, right now in the United States, Arkansas is one of about a dozen and a half or so states that have the constitutional right to direct democracy. And we saw that play out on a really wide scale in the 2024 election cycle, with where there were at least a half dozen measures out there that were collecting signatures. Currently, there are three statewide measures, and there's a potential local measure in Jacksonville. And what I like to do is I'm going to go to each one of you to kind of give us the bird's eye view of particular measures. Rebecca, can you tell us about the measure dealing with direct democracy and what is it? What those measures are about?
So yeah, I can speak to the Protect Our Rights
Yes.
ballot measure. It
Yeah,
creates.
because there are two direct democracies. So yeah, definitely speak
Yeah.
to the Protect Our Rights one.
So the primary big thing that the Protect Our Rights measure does, hopefully through a constitutional amendment, is create three fundamental rights in Arkansas's constitution around direct democracy: the right to petition, the right to sign, and then the right to gather signatures. And this is a really big deal, creating this fundamental right, because once these fundamental rights are enshrined in our Arkansas Constitution, it puts a huge burden on the government to prove why they are going about restricting our rights. A fundamental right it takes a high threshold for the legislature and other entities to restrict those rights. And so this really makes it difficult for in the future for our direct democracy process to get chipped away at. And so those are the big three things that it does. It really those rights exist in the Constitution, but they're not fundamental rights. And we've seen how that's resulted in this chipping away over time.
And April, can you give us a bird's eye view of the education ballot initiative that is ready to start collecting signatures?
Yeah, so this was the ballot initiative from last year, and we were short about 20,000 signatures. Not for lack of trying, that's for sure. And not for lack of wanting by the citizens.
Lack of time.
With lack of time. And so we put it forth. The only change was changing the 4 to a 6 for the election cycle. And we are currently waiting for decisions to be made about the laws that were put into place at the last legislative session before we start collecting signatures. But we know that folks are ready and raring to go to both collect signatures and to sign. I know that's for sure. And just as a reminder about what it's all about, it's making sure that our students basically get what they need, right? So we're looking at after school and summer programs to help students. We're looking at universal offering of pre-K for 3 and 4-year-olds, education support, wraparound supports for students that live in poverty, and quality special education. As a special education educator, that speaks to my heart. We're talking about establishing minimum academic standard requirements for subjects like reading and math, and then requiring all schools that accept taxpayer money to have to follow the same rules. Now, earlier this week, we had a very shocking story about how if the LEARNS Act was to be implemented this year with the holding back of third graders, we would have had over 10,000 students eligible to be held back because they didn't quite make it on their reading test. And instead of asking educators what might actually work, or, how about just Googling what has been proven that works for helping students, they just go on their merry little way and make up stuff that is not going to work. Now, what will work? Preschool. It's, been proven many, many times over that preschool does help students get prepared for school. That's why it's called preschool. Learning their letters and learning their numbers and knowing how to read and getting that boost, But also for students that need the extra help, the quality special education, and making sure that they have those programs for students after school and during the summer to enrich their learning. But also the wraparound services, because, we've heard this many times, and I've said it out of my mouth many times. A student cannot learn if they're hungry. A student cannot learn if they're not clean. They don't have clothing, if they don't have a home to go to that has running water, electricity, all kinds of wraparound services. We need to take care of the whole child. And that's what this ballot initiative is all about. It's making sure that our future is secure by looking at what kids really do need. And so I'm raring to go. I know I am. I know our volunteers are raring to go to get those signatures, because we know that, and Google knows, that this is fundamental, my friends.
Thank you. I appreciate that. As I stated, Arkansas is one of about 12.5 states where direct democracy is a constitutional right. And when we're successful, it will be more than just a constitutional right. As Rebecca said, it will be a fundamental right. But Arkansas is unique. I think it's one of only 2 states where the people of the state have actually 3 different levels of rights: the statewide level, countywide level, and the municipal-wide level. And so that makes Arkansas even more unique, and that makes it even more important for us Arkansans to defend these rights at all costs. And I bring that up because the 2 ballot measures that were just introduced are statewide measures. However, there is a local municipal measure that is in the works in the city of Jacksonville. Barry, can you give us a bird's eye view of what's going on there?
Yes, I would love to. Led by the Jacksonville branch of the NAACP, we noticed that there's been for years that the city council was elected by the at-large model. At-large model is the whole city of Jacksonville vote on these city council people. And what it is, these 2 city councils, the city council is, they need to be from the ward. So it's 2 city council per ward, but they have to be elected by the entire body, entire city. And we thought that was unfair because we noticed that there was many candidates who ran and who won the ward that they was assigned to, but the other candidate who won majority of the other wards. So pretty much 3 wards voted for every city council in Jacksonville. We just thought that was unfair. It was unfair for voters. It was unfair for the people who was in that ward to elect who they want to represent them. So we have done many things to get this change. One thing, we went to the city council to talk to the city council to see if the city council would be interested in seeing the concerns that we had and many citizens of Jacksonville had, to want to make to see if they can just put a ordinance in to change it. All right, that didn't work. Now we're in the next phase of, hey, yes, we have to do maybe a constitutional ballot initiative to put it on the ballot so voters can vote for it. So we're in that phase of looking at making some changes, getting signatures. We're looking at probably working on getting signatures and making a so it can be on the ballot so voters can vote for it. This is unfair for multiple reasons. Why it's unfair? Because again, the powers to be who are in that city make the decision for majority over Jacksonville, and that's not fair. And I think this is a fight that the NAACP we believe in. We think that the people that should have a voice, their voice has not been heard, and we're going to stand up and fight for that fight. And that's what we are doing here in Jacksonville. So see more. We've been, I think the local newspaper have been on this every day talking about it, about that large voting, because they see what it is doing to the citizens of Jacksonville.
Yes, the local paper, The Leader, has done several articles on it, and just this week, I believe, the Arkansas Democrat Gazette
Yes.
on it as well. All right, so for those of you that are listening and watching us on Facebook or YouTube or in this Zoom, I don't know if anybody's in the Zoom, but definitely send send it via the chat, your questions that you want to ask either Barry, April, or Rebecca about direct democracy, about what we're doing now in this 2026 election cycle. And we will get those questions answered. I have my team members that will text me the questions so that I can ask them. I already have one question that I will ask for the panel, and they reference the direct democracy ballot. Why there are two separate ballot measures instead of one ballot measure.
I can talk about that. There were two ballot measures that were filed. We did try to work together on a collaborative measure, and we hope that that still is possible moving forward. But so far, our offer hasn't been accepted on that. Yes, there are two, and there have been conversations around that. So, yeah.
Yeah, towards that question, is there a major difference between the two that the voters need to know about?
I would say major difference would be the fundamental right part, that ours is much clearer, and it's making sure that the Arkansas voter has that fundamental right to secure that direct democracy. I would say that's the biggest difference. I'm concerned. I think that by having two, that it could be a little confusing, but I think that when the voters look at both, they'll see the difference and they'll know which one secures that fundamental right.
The next question that we have is, this particular viewer is interested in getting some clarity on what's going on with the different lawsuits and how they are impacting what's going on with the ballot measures.
Rebecca, you want to take that one?
Yes. So the two direct democracy ballot measures save saved our democracy and protect our rights, both have sued federally to try to block the harmful laws that were just passed this legislative session, but also previous harmful laws that were passed. That really make it difficult to successfully pass any ballot measure. That's moving through the process right now. The next phase of that lawsuit would be hopefully an injunction to make it so immediately while the lawsuit's going through the federal courts, which can take quite some time, unfortunately, that we're granted basically a relief around some of those harmful laws. As that lawsuit's playing out, several laws would be paused to make it so we can go back to the way things were before those laws were in place and follow those previous rules. And so hopefully that will happen soon-ish. Soon is very, very relative when it comes to federal courts, I think. And so that would be the next step. And then also there's a lawsuit you may have seen that also very slow, I guess, the state courts. Several years ago, the League of Women Voters sued on the new 50 county requirement for collecting signatures. In the Arkansas Constitution, it says that at least you have to collect signatures from at least 15 counties. And the legislature took that as an opportunity to somehow make it 50, but obviously that's not right. And so they sued several years ago, and there's finally being progress made at their in state courts around that. There's some news articles about that this week that it's starting to move forward. So yeah, that's why injunctions are important, because these processes take a long time.
Yes.
So I remember the last date would be September 30th, but it might come sooner. We might be hearing more about that.
September 30th being the hearing in federal court. How are these lawsuits impacting signature collection for your ballot initiatives?
But like I mentioned earlier, we haven't been able to start yet, and it's frustrating. And I can only imagine how frustrating it is for all of our volunteers. I've heard from them myself. They want to get going. They want this law. As Arkansans, they want to have their rights, and they are getting frustrated, and I'm frustrated, and I know we all are, just patiently waiting. And, it's just rude. What they have done.
You said it's rude?
This is rude.
Okay.
What they've done to us to try to steal our rights away. And why do they have to keep doing that? Why? I don't, it's frustrating, and it's just not right at all. And I'm so glad that so many people have stepped up to want to help and to join the coalition and to work together. And like we mentioned earlier, from all aspects of life, that we all come together on this one thing. We see a lot of division across this country and across this state, between folks. And this is one thing we can all agree on, that we are citizens and we deserve our rights, and you just can't take them away, and I see a lot of frustration on social media and things like that, folks that say, why don't people just stand up? Well, we are. This is our action. This is what we can do because we have that right. We want to make sure it's a fundamental right that we can keep this direct democracy here in the state of Arkansas.
And can I add something to it too? Because we're going into our convention this month. We're going to our state convention. We have branches coming throughout the state that's going to attend this state convention. And we have...
That is mostly sold out right now.
That's mostly sold out. I think I got 20 tickets left. So, but think about this. We have 3 colleges that who's going to be at the state convention. Arkansas State University, Flam Smith College, and also University of Monticello that's going to attend this convention. We have branches in 20 different areas throughout this state. We have high school students that's going to be attending this convention. And knowing that we could, if we had If we was able to go ahead and move forward with our constitutional amendment that we're trying to get on the ballot to get signatures, we could have done it here. This could have been a plan that we could have worked on, but we cannot do anything right now because what we have to do to get our rights back, and we have to understand they hurting the people. Totally agree with April. What it is, you're hurting people. We're not just talking about Democrats. We're not just talking about black. We're talking about Republicans, Democrats, Independents, everyone that who see this. And if you do a poll, everybody feels that we should have a right to place things on ballots without our government telling us what we can do or what we cannot do and make it harder. And I think that's what we need to look at. It's not just a political issue or a color issue. It's an everybody issue. And we all are people and we have a right to have our voice heard no matter who it is. And I think that's something that our government don't understand. We have that right to let our voice be heard and let the people speak. And what you're doing, you're silencing our voice, telling us what we can do or what we cannot do to make it harder to let our voice be heard. So that's the frustration about this, because we could use our convention where we can go out there and collect signatures with about 200 or 300 people that who's going to be at this convention. So just think about some of the things that they hurting us, stopping us from doing because of some of the laws they are passing to make it harder for us to do the work that we need to do.
Thank you for that. The next question I have that was sent in was actually goes towards what has been said is how do I get involved and become a canvasser, a volunteer canvasser?
And there's a similar question that how many volunteers will we need to be successful?
Okay, yeah, let's do that one first. That's actually, I like that one. So, how many volunteers will we need to be successful? How many volunteers, April, did we have last year for the education?
I know, didn't we have over 1,200 that signed up?
You had over 1,200 that signed up.
Mhm.
And when the data was crunched, the numbers were crunched, we had 1,000 people that were collecting signatures, but the time limit for collecting those signatures in 2.5 months, you collected about 71,000 signatures in
Right.
2.5 months.
And of course, we had some that collected a lot more than others, but
Yeah.
every single person counts. And so if you are a person that wants to volunteer, but hey, I can only get 10 signatures, bring them on, okay?
Yes.
So for ours, it's, I shouldn't say for ours because they're both ours, but for our kids, the education one, it's FORAR, FORAR, kids.org. And I want y'all to go there and once you sign up, because as soon as we're ready to go, we're going. And we need all hands on deck. You say a number, I say everybody, because this bothers or this affects every single one of us. And so both of them do. So get on board with both of them and help us out once we get going with those signatures. One thing about it is we'll be starting when it's cooler. Because last year it was sure dang hot, wasn't it? When we went out, I remember one time we were under a tent. Kwame looked at me and said, "Boy, you're hot, April." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah," but it was because I was dripping, and it wasn't because I was. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to collecting the signatures in the cooler air. That's for sure.
And more towards that question, I'll take a privilege and kind of take a stab at it. Is really the more people you have collecting signatures, the less number of signatures each person has to collect. The goal is to get a minimum of 125,000 signatures on each of these measures. I'm talking about the statewide measures. If we have, if you divide by 10 and you get, instead of 100, you get 12,000. If we got 12,500 volunteers, then everybody only has to collect 10 signatures. We have the ability to really do something meaningful and do something that, as it was stated earlier, send a message to not only the Arkansas legislature, but even more so important, send a message to the United States, send a message to America to let everyone know that if the citizens stand up and fight for their rights, they have the ability in a unified manner to protect those rights if they do it together. And this issue is not a partisan issue. It's not a Democrat issue. It's not a Republican issue. It's not even an independent issue. You know, most Arkansans are actually registered independents. But it's an Arkansan issue. It's a human issue. It's as you stated earlier, Rebecca, it's a family issue. It's a community issue. So it's vitally important. Did I just get on my soapbox?
You did.
I'm sorry.
I was more interested in like watching you do math live.
Yeah. Carry the 3.
Yes.
Can you show your work like that?
But I think if we also look at this with all these new constitution amendments they did that they put before us with these new laws and stuff like that, I think more is better because if you look at the new rules, it's going to take us a little longer to reach each person because of what they're expecting us to do. That's why we had to file a lawsuit. It's because if you see what we have to do, it's going to take us a lot longer speaking to people. So we need as many people out there as possible so we can get as many signatures as we can because if we have to go by these rules. So those are some of the things that we have to look at too.
And there's some is that they put all these laws to protect the process. All these laws were passed to prevent Arkansas citizens from having their rights. And that ain't right. And so we definitely need to band together. You know, I was going to mention that earlier. And we're a union here at the Arkansas Education Association. And what unions do is they band together. You know, no infighting, what we don't do. We work together for common, we come from all different aspects, of course, but we work together for our common goals. And the common goal here is to protect the rights of our citizens.
And I want to add on to it because I had a great time meeting last week with the new president of the AFL-CIO union, Gerald Sales, and we was talking about having him a part of it, and he's all for it because he truly believe in the work that we need to do and what we need, and you know the union have a history of doing this, banding together, fighting for these issues. And as we get partners and as we get people of organizations that want to be a part of this fight, that want to be a part of getting this information out to citizens so they can have a right to put something on the ballot, I think that's very important. Just touching people like that, touching people like the Masonic lodges and who's willing to get into this fight, who want to get volunteer, who want to build a relationship throughout the state, to get signatures and stuff. We have a lot of work to do, but we need as many people as possible to do this work.
Barry, you mentioned a couple of minutes ago about the time factor in collecting just one signature. Could either of you talk about the difference in how long it took to collect a signature in 2024 and how long it will take to collect a signature in 2026 with these new laws in effect?
Yeah, we had a press conference during the session about that. And I actually unveiled how long the minutes were. Now I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was previously it was 2 minutes per signature, and now it's 15 to 18 minutes per signature, yes, which is exponentially. Let's do some math here, but it's exponentially more time, and more time will be needed, and that's the whole point. By the time you get to the point where the person's able to sign, they've lost interest. Or our volunteers are exhausted from just doing this over and over and over again. But, that's the point. So to prevent us from getting signatures.
And I think that's one thing we have to look at. I got my pencil here for a reason. It's Kwame and his math. with his pencil so you can do some erasing and stuff. But the thing is as we was doing the signatures last year, it was very quick because we could set up a post. We can get people to set people drive by. They on their lunch break or they see you signing and stop by real quick to sign and stuff like that. Now we have to read it to you. Now they expect us to read it to you, so you can understand. Then we got to make sure that you are everything. And they're gonna take and people ain't gonna have time. People gonna be burnt, like April said. People are like, okay, I don't have time for all this. It's gonna have to take all this, and this is a tactic that they are doing to scare you away, to get you to run and say, hey, forget it. If it's gonna have to go through this much, it's just not worth my time. And that itself is deterring people not to let their voice be heard and to deter people away. And I think those are some of the things that we have to look at, that we have to spend more time as volunteers. That's why I mentioned that we have to get more volunteers, because as we spend those 10 and 15 and 20 minutes to read or go over or look at all those things for people not to read for themselves and stuff like that, it just takes a lot more time. It's not fair for the person, the voter, to want to express their voice and they cannot.
Okay,
Go ahead, Con.
did somebody just ask me what's the square root of 4,573?
Was that
Okay.
on the question and answers? Oh my goodness. I do want to say something about that though. Just because we said that, and you brought that up right at the very end, Barry, just because we don't want to have to say it every single time doesn't mean that we can't or won't say what the ballot's all about, because that's the whole point. It's an education process. So if a signer wants to have it read, that is not an issue whatsoever. We're not trying to get signatures of something somebody doesn't understand about. But like Barry mentioned, folks are coming up, they already know what it's about. That's why they're coming to sign it. So why would they need to be told all over again? And quite frankly, it's a little bit, and let's bring up that rude word again. I already know what I'm doing. Put it. Stop asking me all those questions or trying to read it all. So,
It's insulting. What it is insulting the voters of Arkansas.
Yeah.
And that what bothers me, when you insult our intelligence and then what we can. It just irks me to death when things like this happen. I'm sorry, Becky.
I think that's right, Barry. When these laws are being debated at the state capitol, it was insinuated that a lot of voters only sign these because they don't know what's included in them, and they're just like randomly signing and walking past. And if they had known, they wouldn't have signed. And it is really insulting.
Well, one thing that I want to definitely say, as far as signing, when you sign a ballot measure, you are not voting for that ballot measure. All you're doing is saying that, yes, I like my right to direct democracy. I support direct democracy. You do not vote on it until it gets on the ballot. And then when it's on the ballot, that's when you actually vote on it. So I wanted to make that statement clear. We have 5 minutes left. I also want to put out the websites on how you can sign up, because during this conversation, the ongoing theme is that we need volunteer canvassers and we need BQC partners. So if you want to be a BQC partner or a volunteer canvasser, you can go to the website for Our Kids. It's forarkids.org. And for Protect Our Rights, it's protectarrights.org. And on those two websites, you will have the option of signing up to be a volunteer canvasser or getting more information on how you might be a partner in the BQC. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, and I put that in the chat too, but we've got a couple of questions that are pretty good here in the question and answer.
Okay.
There's one here. What did we learn from the 2024 election for ballot measures, and how are we approaching this campaign differently as a result? I do want to let everyone know, for those that don't, a survey was sent out to all of our volunteers, and we heard what you said. And we are putting that into place. A lot of it surrounded making sure folks were fully trained and prepared to go out on their own and felt confident knowing the laws and the rules and everything like that, and safety protocol as well. I know those were a couple of big things, and I didn't know if you guys wanted to add anything else, but we also have another really important question here in the Q&A as well.
Yes, and that question is, why are the new laws that the legislature passed so bad for citizens in Arkansas, aside from the time to collect signatures? And how does the Protect Our Rights measure address how bad they are?
Well, we only have 3 minutes, so it's hard to go through all of them. I would recommend you go on Arkansas Advocates website, aradvocates.org, and check out my blog, A Game You Cannot Win. And I go
Pretty
through.
good blog.
Thank you. I go through many of the new laws that did pass this session and how it does impact the process from submitting the ballot title, collecting signatures, as the question already implied, and then also once you get to that process, once you submit signatures to the Secretary of State's office. I will say one other major thing is the 8th grade reading level requirement. And so during this legislative session, a new law was passed that ballot measure titles need to be at an 8th grade reading level for under a very specific reading level test, the Flesch-Kincaid model. And that is fairly problematic for primarily because it's very difficult to follow. Obviously, we want ballot titles to be understandable to voters. That's critical. Like, no one wants to, unless you're a shady person, like you don't want to go on there and like write something to like trick voters into voting for it. You want the ballot title to be clear. However, under this very specific reading model, for instance, the term amendment to the Arkansas Constitution is at a 12th grade reading level. Well, that's a pretty critical phrase when you're amending the Arkansas Constitution that you want to have included. And that's something that we did sue on and are hoping that law will be thrown out at the end of this long federal lawsuit process, but also very more immediately, hopefully, through this injunction process as well. And that
Rebecca, does your blog address that about how our ballot measure addresses those issues? Is that on your blog?
No, that's not on the blog.
So I think that's an important thing we need to say before we leave.
Well, a lot of those issues are actually addressed through the lawsuits. Some of them aren't addressed through the ballot amendment itself. It's through the federal lawsuit. We hope to have these laws not only temporarily paused, but permanently paused through the federal lawsuit process.
Yeah, well, they're addressed directly in the litigation. In the ballot measure, they're addressed as making direct democracy a fundamental right. And when it's a fundamental right, as you stated earlier, the legislature has a burden of proof that they will have to resolve before they can make such interesting legislation to curtail that fundamental right. So that's the main point in addressing not only past legislation, but also creating a protective environment against future such legislation.
Yeah, with the amendment, it makes it, we hope the laws will be thrown off by the federal courts. And then,
Yes.
like you said, through the amendment, we hope it blocks them from doing similar things in the future, creating these like egregious, tedious processes that are harmful to voters.
That's why it's so essential to have those words in that, the initiative, the ballot measure of fundamental rights. It's essential to have those in there.
Okay, and with that, our time is up for today. We only have an hour today, so I'd like to give everyone about 30, 45 seconds to say goodbye and also give out your contact information just in case someone wants to contact you about the work that your organizations do. And I'll end by putting out the contact information for both of the BQCs. Barry, you want to go first?
Sure. Thank you so much, Kwame, Rebecca, and April for this important conversation. Again, I'm Barry Jefferson. You can reach us. I really want you to reach us on our website. It's ascnaacp.org, ascnaacp.org. Please go and you can find a lot of information there about our organization, about what we're doing here in the state of Arkansas at the NAACP. Also, you can reach me at president at ascnaacp.org. You can reach me there and I take any questions or anything you have. Or if you are available, September the 18th through the 20th, come by and visit us at our convention. It's not too late to register and be a delegate. I mean, I need to be observer at our convention or attend our banquet gala on Friday, where our national president Derek Johnson would be here to be our keynote speaker. So if you see them on TV, CNN, and many of the stations, you can meet them in person. So we got 20 tickets left. So you better be 1 to 20 to buy a ticket. Again, you can go to our website to get information on that too. Thank you so much, Kwame, and everyone.
You're welcome. Thank you, Barry. April?
Yeah, I've got 2 tickets, Barry. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
You can contact us at aeaonline.org. The easiest way to contact us is to go to the Contact Us spot on the lower left-hand side of that website, aeaonline.org. You can find out all about us and everything that we do, and join if you're a public school educator, and that's not just teachers. It's all educators in the schoolhouse, my friends, and on the school buses and on the school grounds. So if you are an employee of a public school here in the state of Arkansas, please join us in our work to save the very cornerstone of our communities, our public schools. But you can also reach me personally at Reisma at aeanea.org, and it's Reisma, AREISMA at aeanea.org.
Thank you. And Rebecca?
You can find Arkansas Advocates at aradvocates.org. And if I tell you my name, you'll probably spell it wrong. So you can go on the staff page of aradvocates.org, and you just can copy and paste my email address from there.
Wonderful. Thank you. And for those of you that are interested in either bringing in your organization as a BQC partner or bringing in yourself and your families and friends and your neighbors as volunteer canvassers, you can contact either the BQCs. Protect Our Rights BQC is protectarrights.org, and For Our Kids BQC is 4arkids.org. Thank each and every one of you for spending your lunch hour with me. We're going to all get off of here so I can give me some more tea. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.